Very excited today to welcome the head coach of TCU Triathlon, Coach Jennifer Garrison, back on the show today. Coach, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. A little over a year ago today that we had you on the first time. When I found out that TCU was adding triathlon as another sport for them, found it very exciting and very interesting. So I'm really excited to get you back on today as your team prepares for its first competitive season this fall. You've got an event coming up here in a couple of weeks to kick things off in September. It's been a year since we talked. Obviously, a lot has happened since then to finally get to this point where you're ready to compete. I mean, I don't know, helicopter view the last year of preparation to finally get to this point.
Sure. It would have been awesome to compete last year, but the school had decided, they wanted us to wait it out a year, train, kind of work out the kinks, so to speak. So it's just, we had a year of training. We really, we didn't compete. Some of the athletes competed for their federation during the school year. And some of the races we were at, my assistant coach and myself, they were at different cup races and whatnot, world championships. So we got to go and spectate and see the athletes race, but they never wore TCU stuff and competed for our school. So yes, coming up soon in a few weeks, a week and a half, we'll finally get to race with TCU colors.
That's so exciting. I mean, you guys have been building this program from scratch there in Fort Worth in what is a rising sport. It's not NCAA yet, but it is a rising sport. I mean, how much have you seen just from growth from the sport here in the last year or two?
Growth in the NCAA or growth just in general?
Just in collegiate triathlon.
In collegiate triathlon, I would say it was booming through COVID. Like we were growing leaps and bounds. I started working in this NCAA triathlon world in 2015, which was about the first or second year of the sport started emerging at a different school, and it was exponentially growing. And then COVID happened, and a lot of schools cut programs, kind of slowed funding down, or if they were going to add triathlon, they put a pause on it. So I think COVID stalled it a little bit, just like anything else probably. But I think from what I understand from USA Triathlon, it's still growing really well. They're adding new schools. They added the Naval Academy a couple months ago. I don't know all the schools. There's a lot of Division 2 and 3 schools that have been added, and I know there'll be more added as well. So, and I've heard of rumblings of other schools, but I haven't really heard of any Power 5 schools quite yet, other than the ones that are currently here.
So for those kind of unfamiliar with triathlon as a sport, especially collegiately, like kind of walk us through like what is an event like, since you guys have your first event coming up? What's an event like in collegiate triathlon?
Sure. So generally speaking, we race giraffe legal. If you've watched the Olympics in triathlon, and how the race style is, it's pretty much the same thing, just half the distance. So they swim 750 meters, they bike a 20-kilometer bike, and they run 5K. The biggest difference that I think people, when they visualize triathlon, they think of Ironman or their local triathlon. It's nothing like that. It's very different. They swim together in packs sometimes it breaks apart. Really, it's all about getting out and having a strong swim so that you can come out hopefully with your teammates to work with them on the bike, and be in a good bike pack or work up to a good bike pack. Usually at the bike course is anywhere from 2 to 4 laps. So, I mean, the race we're hosting has 4 laps. So it's 4 5K loops. Honestly, a lot of them are a little out and back. So the whole course is really tight. So you could run from point to point to watch. It's very technical, a lot of turns, 180s, all sorts of stuff. So it's a very technical bike course, on a road bike, different than you would see like your neighbor do triathlon, different kind of bike. And then it turns into a 5K run, a really fast run course. So it's a very concise, condensed race course to watch, and it's really spectator friendly, and it's so much fun to watch. It's really dynamic.
So I assume scoring is similar to like cross country, where you kind of take the top scores from your team that cross and kind of aggregate that out, and whichever team has the lowest time is the one who's going to win, right?
Kind of. They've shifted it a little bit. So in cross country, we're racing 7, scoring 5 is very similar. And that is still the case for nationals. However, they switched it. Now it's top score. So if there's 80 girls in the race, the first place person is 80 points and so on. So actually it ends up being the highest number wins instead of low. It used to be low, but they flipped it because the sport is growing. We, as in the coaching association with the sport, is trying to figure out ways to make it work as the sport grows. So there's just some hiccups in the road, figuring out if there's going to be 2 races, 3 races at nationals as we combine divisions, because there's so many more athletes on the start line than 3 years ago. So, there's just a lot of stuff to figure out as we grow. So they're trying new things.
Well, that's fun. That's interesting.
Yeah.
You have your first competitive event coming up on September 10th. This one's interesting to me because you guys are basically doing a head-to-head with Drury University out in Cato Valley, Arkansas on September 10th. Obviously, when we talk about events, we'll talk about the event TCU's hosting. I'm very excited to talk about, but in a head-to-head, I mean, this is just mano a mano, one team versus the other team, kind of the way we think of a lot of competitive sports, right?
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that's kind of interesting about our sport. Because we're so new, there hasn't been a lot of like having a dual meet. Or having a quad, right? It's not something we have really figured out and honed in triathlon, how to make a cookie cutter program that we can put on a campus, even maybe use a pool one day, where it's easy to take a template and put it at each campus and just say, okay, I'm going to host 1 or 2 teams at an invite. That could be the future of our sport. We still can't figure that out quite yet. But yes, so we're just doing a dual with another school. We're looping it into like a local race. They're letting us go first to use their course because, with our sport, you have to have road closures and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, so it should be a lot of fun. Drury's a great team and, not too far. Weirdly enough, even though they're, I don't even know, a 10-hour drive, that is actually the closest team to us.
Okay.
Oh, but I think a Texas school added it. Texas, I can't remember, Texas State or something like that.
I'm going to start Googling that while we talk.
Yeah, I got to Google too.
I'm very excited. One of the things that when we had talked a year ago was, TCU potentially looking to be able to host an event. Obviously in year 1, you guys have that. It's Battle in the Fort Triathlon. That is on September 17th on a Sunday. You've got a few different squads showing up, including Arizona State, which is very exciting. I mean, what all has gone into getting, and you guys have learned as you prepare, but to prepare this event to be able to host these teams for this meet?
So your question, what went into getting ready for the race?
Yeah.
So when we took over this job, my assistant coach and we had put on, I should say he was a race director, and we put on regional championship races in our old school, using our downtown town of a couple 100,000 people. So we have experience putting on races and doing stuff like that. So we knew when we came here that was really important to us, that we wanted to be able to host, honestly, a world-class competition, and show off TCU as a campus, Fort Worth as a community. That was really important to us. So it was a no-brainer. We knew we wanted to host something this year. For us to host a regional championship next year, we have to host a cup race. So actually our race is considered a cup race because we have 6 teams, including us. So once we kind of work through the kinks this fall of hosting a cup race, we're put a bid in to host a regional race for next year. So hopefully we can host, I think it would be considered like a West regional. So that was kind of the driving force behind it. We hired a local race director and are using a lake that we swim at pretty regularly, almost every week. It's a pretty challenging course too. It's hilly, it's rolly, the run is hilly, it's really technical. We feel like it's a true challenging technical draft legal course that I think will be challenging to everyone. I think the heat will be challenging to those that aren't used to it, because I think even in 3 weeks, I'm gathering it's still going to be above 100 just from looking at the future, forecast. I think our girls are pretty used to it. When they got here, the heat index was over 110. So it's been pretty warm. I feel like that'll be a benefit to us, that they're used to the heat. Some schools might not be as used to it, depending if they work out at 5 a.m. or a little bit later.
Yeah. I mean, see, you guys, I'm up in Arkansas. You guys down there have had a very hot summer, a lot of triple digits, really dry. I mean, like
every day, triple digits.
Good grief. How do you, I mean, this is an endurance sport. So like, how do you handle training in heat like this? Is it been finding ways to train indoors and using different facilities? Like how do you, or is it just, you're going to have to get acclimated to the heat because there's a pretty good chance you're going to have to compete in it?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. We work really closely with our dietitian for our team to work on the nutrition aspect of it, and our athletic trainer to talk about acclimation. So it can take about 2 weeks, worst case scenario, to have the kids acclimate to the current temperature. Some of them will have been here for about 2 weeks now. So by the time our race happens, they should be, I think by now, they're a lot better than they were a week ago. A lot of it's just learning how to hydrate, listen to your body. We actually don't train at 5 in the morning. We really feel like training at more like 7 a.m. is a better thing for their body clock. So we don't do a lot of 5 a.m. stuff just because we tried that last year and kids weren't getting enough sleep. And that's a huge piece of endurance sports, or any sports for that matter. So a lot of our training is at 7, and it could go till 10 or 11 outside. So they've had to really get used to the heat, because by then it's in, mid 90s by the time we finish. So it's just been a learning curve for sure, and just constantly honing in on hydration, nutrition, sleep, recovery, and finding creative ways to bring their core body temperature down.
I've been Googling to find the team in Texas and I can't figure it out. So I'm going to abandon this.
Yeah, you know what? I know USA Triathlon has mentioned it, because I saw a post about it, but it wasn't a school that I'm new to Texas, but that I had heard of.
Fair enough. There's there are a few schools in the state of Texas, so that's
a few, a lot of schools. Yeah.
How is your team feeling about finally getting to like compete as a TCU squad together for the first time this coming month?
My gosh, I would hope really stoked. I'm excited, pretty nervous, just because it's kind of pent up for a year. But I feel like they're really excited just to race in their school uniform and represent their school. Probably the most for our home race, just because their friends on campus can come, other sports can come watch, the local community. I think it'll be really fun for those involved. Hopefully our athletic directors can come and see what our sport is really about. I think a lot of people just don't truly understand what we do, because we're not like basketball, football, where we're training on campus and you can see us. We pretty much disappear a lot and leave campus. So I feel like hosting a race here hopefully will give people a great perspective of really how tough these kids are.
What kind of response, obviously you haven't had the event yet, but what kind of response have you already seen from around campus and administrators and people in Fort Worth about this first season, and kind of some excitement and anticipation?
I mean, I think it seems like it's pretty exciting. I don't know. Our football team's pretty good, so they get a lot of attention. Really from the community, the triathlon community here, the junior triathlon community in Texas, which is honestly really robust. And when I say junior, what that means is the club high school community that does the kind of stuff we do, the kids that we recruit from. It's been really supportive and great. I've had parents and athletes reach out that either want to volunteer or be involved at the race and come. We've had, recruits that want to come fly in and watch it. So it's been a really great feedback feeling. Like I said, we're just really excited to put on a collegiate feel race that really kind of brings the pomp and circumstance of TCU to a race, which, if you know TCU, they like good parties. So we just want to bring that big frog feeling to the race.
I wish I could be there. I think it's going to be a ton of fun. You got some great squads showing up. When again, the event for TCU is on September 17th. It's on a Sunday. Plenty of opportunity for TCU fans to go and check that out. I suggest that you do see what this is all about. Go cheer on a bunch of TCU athletes who have been ready to put on the purple and wear it with pride to support the school and compete. So, Coach, I am excited about this first season for you. You got 4 events, like we mentioned, 2 in September, 1 in October, and 1 in November. That would be the national championships, which are being hosted by Arizona State. Good luck to your squad. Enjoy this first year. I know competition matters, but I mean, it's got to be just exciting, like you said, just to be able to finally get out there and really compete as a team for the first time. So I hope this season is great. I hope everyone is successful and has a lot of fun, stays healthy out there this year.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.